Today, we're diving into a really specialized discipline, political coaching. It's designed to support leaders in the unique, incredibly high-stakes world of public office. We're going to explore its core frameworks, how it's applied in the real world, and what it all means for our political systems.
So, let's start with the central question that frames our whole discussion. Why is it that leaders in politics need a kind of support that's different from, say, traditional executive coaching or consulting? Well, the answer really lies in the unique context and the immense pressures that are just baked into public life.
To get to the heart of that question, we first have to understand the context. So in this first section, we'll really dig into the specific nature of the political leadership challenge. This will help us build the foundation for why this kind of specialized coaching is so necessary.
There's a common set of pressures that really defines the political experience. Leaders have to navigate these incredibly complex webs of power. They're managing sky-high public expectations, and they are living under a microscope of permanent visibility. And to make it all the more challenging, many of them step into these roles with surprisingly little formal preparation for the personal and professional weight of it all.
Okay, so given those pressures, it's clear that a generic approach to support just won't cut it. This is where a specific coaching framework comes in. Now, we're going to look at what political coaching is, and just as importantly, what it isn't.
At its core, political coaching is a completely confidential, one-to-one developmental process. The focus isn't on policy debates or the latest communication strategy. Instead, it's all about the leader's internal operating system, the actual person behind the public persona. The goal here is to help them clarify what they want to achieve, build up their leadership capacity, and develop better strategies for handling the unique pressures of the job.
And this work is incredibly practical. It tends to focus on a few core areas. Things like developing a clear strategic vision or honing an authentic public presence. It's about enhancing the quality of their decision-making, especially when a crisis hits. But it's also about navigating those tricky stakeholder relationships and, maybe most importantly, building the personal resilience they need to be effective over the long haul.
Now, this is an absolutely critical distinction we need to make. A coach is not an advisor. An advisor or a consultant serves a very specific tactical agenda, winning the next election, passing a piece of legislation. A coach, on the other hand, is completely agenda-free. Their only focus is the leader's development. The coach is a confidential, nonpartisan partner whose goal is simply to help the leader become more self-aware and improve the quality of their choices, totally separate from any specific political outcome. So what this means is that the coaching space becomes this incredibly rare sanctuary. Think about it. In a world where almost every single interaction is transactional, the coach is the one person who is exclusively dedicated to the leader's growth. This nonpartisan, agenda-free zone is built on a foundation of strict confidentiality, and that allows for a level of honesty and reflection that is often just impossible to find anywhere else. So, we've talked about what it is and why it's different. Now let's look at how this framework actually gets applied in practice. Because coaching isn't just a one-time thing. It's a process that can add real value across the entire political life cycle, from the very first campaign all the way to transitioning out of office. You can see how this plays out. During a campaign, coaching can help a candidate really test their motivations and get ready for that intense public exposure. Then, once they're in office, the focus completely shifts. It's about moving from campaigning to governing, actually leading teams and managing huge responsibilities. And finally, during a transition or an exit, whether it's a win or a loss, coaching provides that vital support for processing the change and thoughtfully designing what comes next. All right, so we've looked at the impact on the individual leader. But now, let's zoom out a bit, because the effects of political coaching can extend far beyond one person, and they have some pretty significant implications for the overall health of our democratic institutions. Think about the ripple effects. When leaders become more self-aware, they get better at recognizing their own biases and blind spots. This directly translates into higher quality conversations and less dysfunction in cabinets and councils. It builds resilience, which lowers the risk of burnout. And ultimately, it helps create a stronger alignment between a leader's personal values and the public decisions they have to make.
And that really leads us to a pretty powerful idea. Coaching shouldn't be seen as some kind of luxury perk for the political elite. It's better understood as a crucial piece of our democratic infrastructure. It's a mechanism that helps people grow into these incredibly demanding roles, which ultimately makes them better able to serve the public.
So, I'll leave you with this final question to consider. If this kind of support really does help build more reflective, resilient, and effective leaders,
What are the practical ways we can start to embed it more formally into our political systems and our leadership development programs? Because the potential benefits for the health of our democracy are truly substantial.